Hello. Continuing to do things in pairs. I mean, if I get the lights and things set up, I might as well. Here's a written journal. It's from the 10th, 510, the first one of that day, the Mayan day. Oh, it was an ascension day. It was 13 Eagle. Special day. All right. In my last journal, or a recent one, I forgot if it was last, I came to it with overflowing love. This time it's similar, only it's joy overflowing instead. Out of nowhere, for no apparent cause, I'm just filled with joy. Go figure, right? Well, I'm not looking a gift horse in the mouth. And parenthetically, just for fun, I say, by the way, do you know where that saying arises? You look a horse in the mouth to tell its age by its teeth. Thus, even if it's an old horse, if it's free, it's pretty rude to do such things. Okay, anyway, I didn't really know I was coming to the journal. When I made the move, I thought I was just going to a little list that I keep somewhat infrequently called running notes, just odd things I don't want to lose sight of. So I was going to record there, or I was thinking about it, little ways to help deepen focus. And then I just found myself opening the word processor. Now, I don't know. That's a mental thing. Little things to do or not to do, that sort of thing. Still, it is and it isn't if it's in support of being in heart. For instance, I was used to using the regular small YouTube player for watching videos. The one with the list of suggested videos to the right side, or some may have ads there if they're not blocked. Tonight, I clicked the next larger player, not the full screen, but the next larger one, and it covered the whole area where the suggested videos or ads were. Now that reduces distraction, which can help to keep focus. It may seem silly, but little things like that can accumulate when you've set your intention to stay in heart, or whatever intention you've set. Things can add up when they're in support of your heart practice, and that's good news. It's like when you write from heart, whether you call it journaling or a blog or whatever. Don't bother with spelling or punctuation or such things on your first go. Skip all that. That sort of thing keeps mind involved, and that's the point here. By just letting it go, you've enabled yourself to maintain focus within. Now, there are other things too, most of them surrounding being organized. Time spent looking for something, be it a document or whatever file it might be, is time wasted outside of heart. You use mind for those things, so be sure to take the things normally involved in your heart flow and get them perfectly organized. As a for instance, you may want to take a particular file folder where you keep such things and put a link to it right there on your desktop instead of having to drill down. Your desktop is important if your bliss has anything at all to do with the computer. I suggest streamlining everything for the fewest possible clicks to get things done, since clicks require brain power and you'll want to stay out of there as much as you can. One way is to put your most used programs across the taskbar. Mine is at the bottom, but it can be on the side. And that way, with just one click, and it's always available. You don't have to minimize things so you can get to the desktop or go click the start button or whatever. Fewer clicks. Now, by itself, maybe it's simple and maybe it's silly, but You've got to have a higher vision on things so you can see how the little things fit in, instead of clicking start and then finding your program. Oh, I just said this. Or minimizing what you have open to find the desktop and then having to click it twice. By using the taskbar, this way you click only once and there's no other fishing or clicking that needs to be done. Now we can take this even further. The less clicking around, the better, right? I used to work with my windows for the various programs maximized when I would use them. I find it helped with concentration. These days, I don't view it that way. Rather than having to minimize this one and click to maximize that one and so on, I now work with my main window almost covering the screen, but not quite. That way, I keep a strip of the desktop visible across the top and down the side. Now, why do that? Down the side is where I have links to the particular file folders I'm into the most. And across the top, I have links to the particular documents I use the most. That still leaves some room, so what do I do with that? Well, what I have open most often is the browser and the word processor. This way, I can have them both open at the same time, and even when the browser is on top, I can see exactly what document I'm working with and be into it with one click, since I can read the title bar across the top. Now, yes, I know this is thoroughly inconsequential, and taken alone, yeah, it is. But I rely on you to be in heart when you're with these journals. So you're reading more than just the words. You're getting my heart flow so you can read more into what's being said here and how it applies to you. Since my main focus is word processing in the journals, and since uploading them is a process requiring several programs, several websites, several files, this enables me to stay in heart during most of the process, if not all. I spend no time at all in wasted looking for things or minimizing, maximizing, and shuffling things around. This isn't at all just a time issue. It's got to do with tasks done by mind and streamlining those in favor of spending more uninterrupted heart time. Now, it wasn't the easiest thing in the world once I determined that I wasn't going to restrict heart time to just meditation or prayer. My heart's love is so intense that I determined that nothing less than 24/7 is my aim. Yes, I would be, in effect, in meditation for all that time. Including sleep. Does it sound like a big goal? When heart is driving you, it's nothing more than following your bliss. That's what we all need to make room for in our lives, following our own personal bliss, no matter where that leads us. We've got to love ourselves and honor our higher self enough to trust and know that, first, we're worthy of that bliss, and second, that it's not only good for us, it's good for others, for all life. We might not be able to see it, but we just know that it is. Love is like that. Why is that? Well, you wouldn't be driven to that particular thing if it just wasn't so. Everything is entirely perfect, be in heart. And when it comes to something so beautiful, so intense, and so focused as that which brings you bliss, well, you've just got to come to know at some point that that drive is divine. It's divinely ordained. It's not some recreation or sidelight that you shove to the side in favor of everything else being more important. Do you see? When you begin to put yourself first, things like this will begin to happen. Don't try to make them practical. to turn your bliss thing into a moneymaker. Don't bother. That would be mind, and this is no mind thing. So just stick with heart, with what you're sensing, what you're feeling when you're following your bliss. Your feelings are more intelligent than the mind in this case, in this way. It's because they're more closely connected to higher self and to spirit than the mind is. But that doesn't matter so much. It's just a reason to give to the mind to help it understand. It won't be so long when such mental reasons, explanations, and the like will lose all importance in your order of priorities. Believe it or not, once you're really putting yourself first in life, then the real magic can begin to happen. That's the way of opening the door to it, putting self ahead of anything and everything else. Your own true and authentic inner voice will come through best when you're listening, which you can't do when attuned to the mind's frequency spectrum. They're just not the same. Heart's voice is on a higher frequency. I suspect such things are really quite simple, and we'll all know this beautiful simplicity when we're fully into the new day that's dawning here for the earth. Wisdom always seems so simple. I know you can come up with many ways to streamline your pondering or meditation time. Maybe you meditate when doing woodworking. Maybe when sewing or gardening or whatever. Do what you can to streamline things around your meditation. It's entirely possible to make one's whole life into one continuous meditation. Well, why not? See what you can do with the idea. The last thing you want to be doing, by the way, is multitasking. Put that out of your mind. Now, of course, this is just me. I mean, you do what you want, but that's what I think of it. Meditation is not multitasking. It's much more elegant, and it's nothing if not focused or singular. So respect what you're doing enough to recognize this and get out of the mind. It's mind that will have you multitasking most of the time. Heart flow may have you doing it, but rarely, from what I've noticed, and always with a particular focus, not as a regular habit, as is often the case with mind. Learn to distinguish the way of things of heart versus things of mind. The sensing, the feeling. Separate the two. When you're in mind, be in mind. This can be very much a part of your flow. Just know what you're doing from heart's perspective and let heart be in charge. Don't rely so much upon mind. It's something you're transcending now if you're rising in frequency and in consciousness. Time to start breaking the many ties we all have with the mind. And be prepared too. Mind will object, and strenuously. It will likely be an interesting journey on the road to getting your mind to accept and even enjoy its new lower status vis-a-vis heart. It will fight tooth and claw to make that not happen, so do be prepared. Your mind is likely a lot smarter and a lot slicker or trickier than you may be aware. Chances are good it will trick you any number of times, so be a good sport and give it its due while ever returning focus and allegiance back to your center, back to heart. The good news is that it will give in eventually if you're determined. You will have to show it your steely intensity to make the new change. Nothing else will win over a mind that is not used to losing at what it sets out to accomplish. And remember, mind's been in charge basically for your whole life. Now, this amounts to such a major demotion for mind. It has been running the show and running you. Okay, so take a good look at that and realize what mind is losing in this deal. That's how it sees it anyway. It's highly likely that mind will give the fight to maintain its ruling status all it's got. So, what does that mean? You can expect this to include a good dose of depression and various states of misery along the way. Mind will kick your butt trying to win. This comes because of our identification with the mind. We have vested it with so much of our own identity that when it hurts and gets angry, so do we. Or that's how we see it. And so that's how it seems to us. Now, it's nuts, I know. Once we know we are simply not that it's more like the car that we drive, still, it will have you convinced that those are your feelings, not just minds. It's amazing, the creative wizardry of the human mind. So let's respect the heck out of it, but continue to put it in its proper place, subject to the heart. What do you say? Does that work for you? Does that speak? It's what you do when you love yourself. If you're a list maker, maybe make a list of the things that give you joy and try to order them as much as you can so that you can find out what gives you the most intense pleasure or bliss. It's Joseph Campbell is the one who coined that, I think, that phrase, follow your bliss. And that's why I use it. But it just means you deserve happiness. Actually, it's one of the main things we're about by coming into incarnation here in 3D. We didn't come in to be miserable, you know. And so most of us haven't yet given ourselves permission to enjoy the life. No pain, no gain. We've got endless kind of programming that's gone in, and it's gummed up the works. So I think with little things like this, what this will be is evidence of you loving yourself. You'll see it at work. Good day.